Darwin's having an identity crisis. Not metaphorically, literally. He's a pet fish with legs, pretending to be a boy, always helpful, always happy, but beneath that perfect smile, there's nothing solid, just a personality built to serve everyone but himself. And by the end of this video, you'll understand, Darwin isn't just lost, he was never allowed to find himself in the first place. Let's start at the very beginning. Darwin wasn't born into this world with an identity, he was manufactured into one. Not adopted, not rescued, not wished for. He was a goldfish until the Wattersons decided to teach him how to walk, literally, like a weird family science experiment gone right, or horribly wrong. And the moment Darwin stood up on those bizarre, cartoonishly long legs, something fundamental changed. He wasn't a pet anymore, he became something else. But here's the thing, he never chose that. He didn't evolve, he was reprogrammed. No memories of childhood, no family history, no species like him to relate to, just a brain full of brand new emotions dropped into a chaotic household and expected to fit in as if he'd always been there. From the start, Darwin wasn't given the freedom to explore who he was. Instead, he was assigned traits. Be kind, be helpful, be funny, but never make it about you. Imagine waking up one day as a completely new being, and the only thing anyone wants from you is to be sweet and supportive. That's not identity, that's emotional servitude, disguised as friendship. And Darwin, he never questioned it, because how do you question a world you were built to serve? In the episode The Puppets, Darwin stumbles upon a dusty old box in the attic. Inside, two hand puppets with stiff felt smiles and lifeless button eyes, Frank and Howdy. At first, it's just a joke. He gives them names, does silly voices, goofs around like a typical cartoon sidekick. But the shift is almost immediate. The more time Darwin spends with the puppets, the more he changes. He starts speaking through them, sleeping with them, refusing to eat. And then something unthinkable happens. He lashes out at Gumball, cold, mocking insults. Not a playful jab, real venom. And this is Darwin we're talking about. The eternal optimist, the emotional sponge of the Watterson family. He never snaps. He never gets mean. Unless this wasn't an outside force corrupting him. What if the puppets didn't control Darwin? What if they liberated him? This is textbook dissociation. When someone suppresses emotions for so long, those feelings escape through another identity. And in Darwin's case, they took the form of smiling puppets who say the things he's too afraid to. When Gumball tries to yank them off his hands, Darwin fights back. Not because he's possessed, but because for the first time, he's not just the cute sidekick, he's the one setting boundaries, speaking up. But that's what makes it terrifying. How many people walk around wearing a smile, holding it together, doing what's expected, when deep down, they're just waiting for anything to give them permission to fall apart? For Darwin, that permission came with a stitched mouth and button eyes. In the dream, Gumball wakes up furious. His brother Darwin stole his girlfriend Penny. Well, in a dream at least. And sure, it sounds ridiculous, a petty nightmare blown out of proportion, until you see Darwin's reaction. He doesn't defend himself, doesn't get flustered, doesn't even try to reassure Gumball. He just shrugs, like, maybe I did. That moment hits harder than it should, because Darwin is always the peacemaker, the emotional glue. But here, he's distant, detached, almost indifferent. And maybe that's not an accident. Maybe deep down, Darwin did want to be the one in Penny's life, not to betray Gumball, but to finally have something that wasn't handed to him, something that wasn't just a leftover role. After all, he spent his entire existence orbiting Gumball's world, his problems, his relationships, his chaos. Darwin isn't just his best friend. He's a function in Gumball's story. Psychologists call it enmeshment. When you're so emotionally fused with another person that your own desires become invisible, even to yourself. So when Gumball spirals into insecurity, Darwin lets it happen. He watches quietly, maybe even curiously. And that silence, that sudden distance, that's what rattles Gumball most. Because for the first time, Darwin isn't trying to be the fixer, he's just trying to be someone. Then comes the downer. Gumball wakes up to a version of Elmore that's eerily quiet. No noise, no people, no chaos. It's not peaceful, it's hollow. The streets stretch endlessly without a soul. Every building feels frozen in time. And Darwin, nowhere. Gone without a trace. And that's when everything collapses. Because Darwin isn't just Gumball's best friend, he's the one who holds Gumball's emotional world together. The steady hand, the moral compass, the calming voice in the middle of a cartoon hurricane. Without him, Gumball spirals. He loses direction, loses purpose. Even his own personality begins to unravel. But here's the uncomfortable question. If Gumball can't function without Darwin, what does that make Darwin? His entire identity is wrapped around being the helper, the stable one, the emotional anchor. That's not a relationship, that's a role. And roles get tiring, because when you exist solely to support others, your own self starts to fade. Who is Darwin when no one needs saving? People pleasers often feel valuable only in proximity to others. So when everyone disappears, what's left isn't peace. It's a silent identity crisis, not just for Gumball, but for Darwin, who was never taught how to exist for himself. In the scam, Darwin gets pulled into one of Gumball's classic schemes, this time faking a demonic haunting to steal Halloween candy. At first, Darwin hesitates. He's nervous, ethical himself, but the second he sees Carrie intrigued by the idea, something flips. He joins in, then escalates it. Suddenly, Darwin's not just helping, he's leading the prank. He growls in shadows, hisses threats, pops out of lockers with glowing eyes. He even starts making up new ghost rules to scare kids more effectively. It's thrilling, but also unnerving, because this version of Darwin is cunning, confident, even manipulative, and yet none of it is for him. He's not acting out because it feels right. He's doing it to impress Carrie, to prove he's not just the sweet, safe sidekick. He wants to be seen as bold, edgy, memorable. It's a performance, a costume within a costume. Psychologists would call it adaptive identity formation, when someone molds their personality to fit the expectations of others, especially when they've never truly explored who they are underneath. Darwin isn't discovering himself, he's auditioning, because when you've spent your whole life being what others need, then there are moments, surreal, unsettling moments, where Darwin doesn't just act strange, he glitches. In the signal, his body flickers like a corrupted video file. His voice distorts, skipping and warping into static. His limbs phase in and out of existence. He literally begins to unravel on screen, pixel by pixel, like even the universe isn't sure who he's supposed to be anymore. Think about that. He started life as a goldfish, then one day he got legs, then a name, then emotions, then expectations. One by one, pieces were added, but nothing from him. It was all assigned. He was taught to smile, to support, to follow. He became what others needed, not what he wanted. And now, there's no foundation, just layers of borrowed behavior and pre-programmed responses. Personality by patchwork. So when the script finally demands something real, something authentically Darwin, it breaks him. Psychologists call this identity diffusion, when someone's sense of self is so fragmented and externally shaped that they struggle to form a stable core. And that's exactly what we see here, because if you've never been allowed to explore who you really are, what's left when the lights flicker, the noise drops, and the screen asks, who are you really? So who is Darwin? He's a symbol, a mirror, for anyone who's ever kept the peace to stay loved, for anyone who learned it's safer to smile than to speak up, for anyone who shaped their personality around being accepted instead of being authentic. Darwin isn't just the heart of the show, he's the cost of emotional survival. And that grin on his face might not be happiness, it might be fear, because the scariest identity crisis is the one you don't even realize you're having. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.